In the spring semester of my second year of college, a new virus was formed called coronavirus. Coronavirus pandemic relied on politicians on slowing the spread of COVID-19 rather than Center for Disease Control and Health, even though CDC knows much better ways on slowing the spread of COVID-19 than politicians. Middle of the spring semester, we were ordered to go into lockdown and had to stay at home by the political government. Stores were closing, schools were closing, and meeting virtually instead of in person, and events were canceling. Some of this was going to even affect permanently, despite it being only a temporary thing. Some stores permanently closed, some relationships permanently broke up, some school records were permanently affected, some social lives have been permanently affected, some people permanently lost their homes or jobs, some people permanently been unable to attend a certain event, and more. There was so much I was looking forward to in 2020, such as second ski weekend in Vermont, NFL basketball draft, Mamma Mia performance, academic festival, spring fling, fresh check day, choir concert, graduation concert, hiking with second cousins, Memorial Day parade, Miami, Florida trip, Gov Ball Music Festival, summer theater, summer camp counseling, Lake Compounce tradition with my two friends, Thanksgiving, my mom's friend's daughter's wedding, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and more. Lots of people think that wishing COVID-19 never existing will end these restrictions, but that will not help end these restrictions, as wishing COVID-19 never existing will only make the restrictions worse. Lots of people also think that relying on a vaccine will end these restrictions, but you can't rely on a vaccine to end the lockdown. There was some activity that didn't go the right way even after Imagination Wizardry was finally let out of the bottle, and I was at community college for just a temporary school. All of the Imagination Wizardry depression side effects all came back 100%. This stay-at-home order was far worse than the Imagination Wizardry depression. These stay-at-home orders were worldwide. On Memorial Day, restrictions got lighter and transitioned to face masks. We still had social distancing procedures to follow. Sometime a fall semester of third year of college, a boy at my high school died from suicide. In support of his death, I decided to go talk to all those people who have been there for me and have supported me. I even reached out to this girl named Bridget, who was in my second grade class, who was always there for me when I cried a lot back in second grade. She responded how wonderful it was that I reached out to her and that she's here for me anytime. Felt appreciated that she's here for me anytime, since for 12 years I had no idea that she's here for me. Later on in third grade, we weren't in the same class. I learned how to get what I wanted instead of crying. In middle school, we were never in the same crew. She was in the chorus-only group, where I was in the band and chorus group. She stopped doing the theater shows in middle school, and her girlfriends didn't associate with my guy friends as much as elementary school. In high school, me and Bridget took completely different paths. She was in the art department while I was in the music department. Sometime in spring semester of my third year of college, I established a song called Bridget, which was a song about when Bridget was here for me back in second grade when I cried a lot, since I didn't know how to respond when I was sad back in second grade. Similarity between freshman year and second grade, the school team both thought doing this certain accommodation would work at first, but it didn't succeed. The team thought it would work for me and a major autism boy to be in the same class in second grade to get the same support by the same para, and the team thought it would work for me to have learning center every day instead of concert choir when I was in ninth grade. Realizing that, and after realizing that Bridget and Don't Judge Me both recall hard years I went through, I compared the two to each other. After a comparison between the two on how they are both established, while Bridget is about childhood friends, going and coming back, and someone who is there for you for minor issues can also be there for you for major issues as well. Don't Judge Me, on the other hand, is about letting situations out of the bottle and expressing all of your issues rather than just what's going on in school. I then realized it's time for me to express what else I had thought of doing before I chose to be a wizard grade 9. Later on in May of third year of college, COVID restrictions got even lighter and even reduced social distancing. I still dealt with a whole bunch of Imagination Wizardry side effects since COVID restrictions messed it all up, and a lot of other activity not going the right way made it much harder to get rid of them. After losing the boy from my high school to suicide previous year, to support suicide awareness later in the fall, I decided to talk about one time when I felt a little suicidal, middle of 7th grade, after a misunderstanding for me, thinking I was the biggest loser in my middle school. I've been on the autism spectrum ever since I was 3 years old. I had no idea that these certain challenges were occurring because of my autism. Especially hard since my autism is mild. When I was in kindergarten, I had a crush on a girl in my kindergarten class. In 1st grade, I completely lost interest in her after we weren't in the same class. Despite that, my family members continued to tease me about her. They would always enforce me to be with her. They only wanted me to be with her. They didn't let it go. They didn't move on from her, and they didn't use acceptance. It made me feel like I was forced to be with her, even though I didn't want to. There were other girls that I preferred. When I was in middle school, I used to always ask girls out on a date. They would always reject me. I found it extremely hopeless, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what it meant for a couple to be with one another when I was in middle school. People in middle school had a lot of negative behaviors, and I didn't know that people's behaviors were hard because it was a hard time in middle school because of transition to teen years, bodies changing at different rates, dating, popular gangs, and social media. There were a lot of experiences I never got to experience when I was younger, and I was frustrated that I didn't get to experience them at all. I was assigned to be in this friendship group called Men's Group. Men's Group met in the counseling center once a week during lunch and once a month in the Dean's Lounge during lunch. Despite the fact I have friends who aren't in Men's Group, my parents wanted me to throw a party that only included folks from Men's Group. And despite the fact only including Men's Group folks are not parties, as the only thing what makes it a party is inviting all of your friends. A lot of the other folks in Men's Group threw a Men's Group only party too. I had no idea that the Men's Group only gatherings were keeping me in a bubble and making me a lot more associated with the Men's Group folks. I didn't know that. When I was in 7th grade, despite the fact I have friends who aren't in Men's Group, I was given an assigned seat at lunch to only sit with the Men's Group folks. A lot of this happened ever since one of my friends overreacted when I got a crew change from 7M to 7L. I at first thought it was for punishment, but in reality, the counselors just wanted to keep me safe, but it wasn't helping me because I have friends who aren't in Men's Group. And I was confused. I'm explaining, I didn't do anything wrong. I worked really hard. I just didn't know that it wasn't for punishment. I thought it was for punishment. In reality, it wasn't. Grade 9 depression was 28 times worse than when I thought I was the biggest loser in 7th grade. I almost felt a little suicidal near the end of 8th grade after my parents didn't sign me up for CCE class to receive confirmation for 8th grade, despite the fact I received baptism, reconciliation, and communion, and despite the fact I have Catholic blood in me and no Jewish blood. In which my parents should have been aware that I've received all those things, and they should have assigned me for CCD for 8th grade to receive confirmation. Sharing those experiences helped me express what I had thoughts of doing before I decided to be a wizard, after I suffered a lot of depression in grade 9, and then helped it get out of the bottle faster. So I decided to finally let 100% of my grade 9 depression out of the bottle, and even let out of the bottle what happened after grade 9 depression. I even expressed how, after depression, I still dealt with a whole bunch of side effects, and a lot of activity not going the right way made it much harder to get rid of these side effects.